during the Civil War, the war that he won, making that prediction to us. Well, at least civility is back in the White House. Press corps. Tonight, the White House press corps behaved exactly the way they should always behave. But it's the way they only behave with Donald Trump. Reporters were allowed in the Oval Office while Donald Trump was signing an unconstitutional executive order, among other things, and citing pardons for his supporters who tried to beat police officers to death. And reporters asked questions while Donald Trump was doing that. The reporters never yelled. They never even slightly raised their voices. The reporters never talked over each other or interrupted Donald Trump. They allowed Donald Trump to pause as long as he wanted to before answering a question, or in the middle of an answer of a question, just go blank for a while. Performatively, it was actually a calm conversation among adults, which is the way it always should be. It seemed perfectly okay that they took Donald Trump's personal rhythms into account while asking for the questions, and they seemed to understand that his brain wasn't frozen. He was just looking over here at this document when he was in the middle of a sentence, so he stopped talking for a second to try to figure out what he was doing. It all made sense. Stylistically, it made sense, and only stylistically. Substantively, it was completely empty or worse. Donald Trump signed a piece of paper right in front of them that he thinks removes this sentence from the United States Constitution. All persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States. No president has ever tried to remove a sentence from the Constitution, actual words from the Constitution, with an executive order, with the stroke of a pen. No reporter in that room had ever seen a president try to do that, so you can imagine what an outburst would have occurred in that room if anyone other than Donald Trump were sitting at that desk.
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Okay, that's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
That was about it. No questions. No one asking about that. In the middle of Donald Trump's very pleasant, very quiet first encounter with the White House press corps tonight, he made this remark about President Biden.
Sir, if you don't 90 days, will you shut them down?
Does Biden ever do news conferences like this? How many news conferences, Peter, has he done like this?
Like this?
None.
0.
Well, they're almost right about that. Joe Biden did do no news conferences like that, meaning news conferences where the press doesn't yell at you, news conferences where the press doesn't scream at you, news conferences where they don't scream over each other while screaming at you. But the Fox guy said 0, knowing that he was one of the people in the Oval Office screaming at Joe Biden when Joe Biden took questions from reporters in that same room, the Oval Office.
Thank you all for coming.
And here's that same White House press corps that was so polite to Donald Trump tonight, across the hallway from the Oval Office in the Roosevelt Room. White House press corps never dared to do that to Donald Trump the first time Donald Trump was in the White House, and they will not dare to do that to Donald Trump this time. No matter how outrageous Donald Trump is being right before their very eyes, like trying to repeal a sentence in the Constitution by himself. Donald Trump took an oath at noontime today to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and not one reporter in that room tonight asked him if he just violated that oath by trying to remove these words from the Constitution. All persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States. So the substance of what reporters will call a press conference by Donald Trump was horrible, horrible on both sides tonight, the Trump side and the press corps side. But stylistically, it was actually the way it always should be. It should always be a calm discussion among adults when a president speaks to reporters in any forum, anywhere. There should never be screaming. But it only works that way, the calm adult way, for one occupant of the White House, Donald Trump. And the White House press corps seems completely oblivious and unembarrassed by this double standard for which Donald Trump is the unique beneficiary. The next president will not get the Trump treatment by the White House press corps. Donald Trump is the only president to pardon people who publicly committed crimes for him. He did that tonight in one document that commutes the sentences of 14 people, but does not actually pardon them, just lets them out of prison. And then in the same document, Donald Trump pardons every other person who broke the law on January 6th. Every other person who tried to beat police officers